extent of the injury, so I don't know if he'll be able to feature or not. So when you're looking at Crystal Palace, Connor Wickham's out, Christian Benteke's out, Patrick Van Aanholt might be out. Sounds like James McArthur and Mamadou Sakho are going to be fit and available, and Zaha is available. As for Tottenham, I don't know about Harry. Pochettino said he'll be assessed again on Monday, and we'll know more then. They're really keeping it close guarded on whether he's fit to play against Real Madrid this week. If he's not, I'm thinking you just hold him out until after the international break. And we can talk about that when we preview Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
But so right now, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with him. They're just saying we'll assess it again. As for Victor Wanyama, he's seeing a specialist for his knee. I don't know when he's going to return. Lamela is regaining his fitness, so maybe Crystal Palace, but it's looking more and more like it's going to be after the international break for him as well.
Bring him on for Arsenal, baby. That's right.
That's what I said when we first started talking about him coming back from injury. People were talking he could come back against West Ham. I thought Arsenal was a more realistic target for him after being out for so long. I think with him, it's just they've mentioned it's regaining that mindset, the ability to be able to go out there, play, and not be scared about re-injuring yourself. So it sounds like he's just holding back a little bit, being a little bit timid playing because of the concern of re-aggravating one of those injuries.
Yeah. The match at Real Madrid will definitely be interesting. It's already a sellout, so who knows what they're doing in terms of any extra seating or standing room only in the concourses. I don't know if they do that type of thing there. Simon, do you know? Will they do that? Sell kind of standing room tickets?
No.
Okay.
No.
The game's a sellout. I imagine unless somebody just, doesn't for some reason make that match that every seat will be filled. So will be fun to watch, especially from a spectator standpoint. Neutrals are going to love this one. We'll get to predictions here later. However, it also kind of springs to mind that there's another trophy that we are going after, and are we truly in for the Champions League? Final 8. Would love to get that far. Final 4 even better, but we got to make sure that we can sustain, right? So we have Pochettino, and he's our manager. No kidding. Argentinian. So when you look at these competitions, whether they be domestic or in Europe, they are all considered European titles to be won. And Simon, I know you found out a very interesting stat regarding Keith Birkinshaw and his comparison to other English managers who have won European Cups, and I'd like you to share it.
Yeah, so there was, I know not a lot of people are big fans of the Daily Mail for good reasons, but great interview with the General in that paper today. It's on Twitter and Facebook if you search for it. So I did not know, and I guess when you think about it, you go, wow, times have changed. But he is the only living Englishman with a European title to his name. And I went, wow. And there's a great little graphic on the interview. And it kind of lists all the English managers down the years who have European titles to their name. And obviously Bob Paisley, Liverpool manager, is on the top of that list. 3 European Cups, as it was called back then, and the UEFA Cup. Brian Clough was second with 2 of those. Don Revie, the old Fairs Cup, back in the late 60s, early 70s. Bobby Robson, this one's interesting because Bobby was the last English manager to win a European trophy. He did that, the Cup Winners' Cup with Barcelona in 97. Bill Nick is in there with 2, as we all know, and then there's a bunch of managers, all great names who won one European trophy, and Berkey is in there. Now, Berkey and Joe Fagan at Liverpool both won the top European trophies in 84. Fagan won the European Cup, and Berkey won the UEFA Cup that season. That's the last season an Englishman won a European trophy with an English club, because Robson did it with Barcelona in 97. Even that 97, that's 20 years ago. So, Berkey does go on to say that English managers get the raw deal. And I think, do we touch on that a little bit? I know we haven't fared too well in Europe with English managers. Obviously, the last one being Harry, we really didn't seem to get too far. Granted, good Champions League tournament on our European bow there. But other than that, some pretty poor performances in the Europa League. And, it's been a while since we've been in it. So, it really does go back to Birkinshaw. And we were fantastic in Europe back then. Granted, the landscape was different. It was a different era of football. You didn't have a lot of foreign stars on your team, not to the point it is today. So, football has definitely changed since Berkey's days. But does it beg the question, do English managers get a raw deal? Let's look at the guys that are in the Premier League. You got Sean Dyche doing a great job at Burnley, right?
Yep.
I think Burnley are a surprise this season. They've done the business with us and certainly with Chelsea on the opening day. And I think he's a good manager. But would he fare well at a club like a City or a Chelsea who expect to win? And would he ever get that fair go at a club like that where instant success is required?
Yeah, I know that there had been some mention about like if Wenger did step down, who would take his place. I know Eddie Howe got mentioned, so that may be the first opportunity we see if that comes to fruition. I would hate it because I like Eddie Howe.
What do you think, Tim? I mean, English managers in the Premier League these days, do they get a raw deal? Do they get the chance to move on up and manage a bigger club?
To be honest, I don't really care. Other than Tottenham, I don't give a shit about any other club. So, I mean, I'm not a good person to ask this question because I have no opinion.
No, it may be relevant to us. If Pochettino goes away, is there an English manager that you would want to come manage us? Or should we continually and I'm not even going to say a top foreign name because at the time Poch wasn't a top foreign name. We were looking at De Boer and Van Gaal.
All I'm going to say is just go back and listen to our special interview from this midweek because I don't think Poch is leaving anytime soon.
Well, and I wasn't saying that. It was a hypothetical.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I'm going to keep deflecting. Don't draw me into this.
I mean, if I had to choose, if it's a Dyche over like an Eddie Howe, Dyche is more of the animated, motivator type that maybe you kind of want. But I like the fact that Eddie Howe outthinks most managers that he plays against with much lesser resources and talent. And what he's done at Bournemouth has been pretty amazing and quite sustaining at the same time as has Dyche. So I think that the future bodes well there. Now when you look at Fat Sam and a few others that are obviously not coaching right now in the Prem for obvious reasons, you kind of have to look in that direction as well. And I know that there's been some links with Sam Allardyce and the U.S. men's national team that could be a possibility once they finally settle on a full-time manager again. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I know that there's clubs that would probably love to have him, bring him in and motivate them. But the future beyond that, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know like who's at Derby County, who's at Ipswich, who's at Preston North End, some of these other teams, Reading, that are fighting for possible promotion. And if there's any English managers that are sprinkled in there, that could lay down a marker and say, I can coach in the Premier League and I can win a title. But it's a very interesting stat, very interesting fact that Birkinshaw is the last living Englishman to have won a European title of some sort. So it's, where does modern football start and end? I've heard so many people say that they hate the modern game. They want to stand again, or they want more English players, or they want more English managers, or they don't like all this money because it doesn't leave enough parity within the league that used to maybe be there. And so when I hear that argument about not liking modern football, I never know where that line kind of starts and stops. Do you not like it because you can't stand? Do you not like it because of the money? Do you not like it because there's too many Americans now that are infiltrating, your game as an English supporter? I don't know where that line is drawn. There's other podcast hosts out there who have different movements and different opinions that coincide with this, but I've never really heard the true explanation as to why. But the game has changed, and the game is today what the game is, and it's not going anywhere. And if anything, I hate saying this because I've seen it happen in other sports over here, it's going to become more commercialized. It's going to become more worldwide, and your home stadiums are going to be filled with tourists that are willing to spend the money that tickets are going to cost in the future. It's just part of the progression of the sport, and the FA and then the people who run and have anything to do with the Premier League are going to welcome that. It's dollars and cents. I just think that's where it starts and stops. I went from an English manager winning a trophy to that. I have no idea where that came from. Timmy Zaha. We talk about him coming up this week, and he played a 2-0 and you fucked it up, and we heard that all week from West Ham. That didn't last long because they had a 2-0 lead and messed it up. So with that late goal from Wilfred, he looked great on our left. I've kind of been asking for 2 years that happened. When we play them, who do you put on our right? Do you play Aurier against him, more physical and maybe a little more pace, or do you play Trippier, who's not a defensive liability by any stretch of the imagination, but can also push forward?
I mean, I think it depends on who we play midweek against Madrid. I mean, I think it really just depends on that, because that's the one you need to focus more on, is controlling Marcelo. So whoever plays midweek against Madrid, I think will get the rest this weekend, and that's who will play against Zaha. I think you need to focus more on Real Madrid controlling Marcelo, trying to get a point in that match, than you do against controlling Zaha.
Do you think we're in a better position, Tim, going defensively into this match? I mean, we ended up with Vertonghen out on the left last time, so what do you think?
Yeah, I think we're in a much better position defensively, because you saw last match, the youngster, Achraf Hakimi, he caused a lot of problems for Vertonghen moving forward aggressively with his speed. And Vertonghen we didn't really have much of a presence from our left back moving up the pitch against Real Madrid, because he had to be aware of that speed that Hakimi has. So he couldn't push forward. I think now with either Davies or Rose playing in that position, it's going to be a little bit of an easier time on the left side of the pitch. So I think with one of them being back, we are in a better position moving forward defensively heading into this match than we were when both Davies and Rose were injured or not fit for the match.
Do you think we stick with a 3-5-2 or play like a 4-2-3-1 against them?
I mean, it worked last time.
Yeah.
The 3-5-2, especially with the way that they play two strikers. I think you need to have the three center backs to try and counter the two strikers up top. And, given Bale's lack of fitness, it's probably going to be Benzema and Ronaldo. And I don't think we're going to be as lucky to have Benzema play as shit as he did last time. He missed some chances that should have gone in the net, and I don't think we can hope for that to happen again. So I think you need to keep three at the back to kind of control or attempt to control both Ronaldo and Benzema. And then I think one of the biggest things is going to be controlling Marcelo like we did last time. Aurier did great against him. He was able to keep him from getting into the game offensively, was able to get behind him, as we saw with his cross that went in for the own goal.
Yeah.
So I would prefer to have Aurier start again against Real Madrid. I don't think Trippier is going to fare as well against Marcelo as Aurier does. And that would leave Trips going up against Zaha on the weekend.
Do you think, Simon, that if we play a back five like that, or a 3-5-2, however you want to look at it, I'll call it a back five, that Winks will get some help this time around, whether it be Dyer or Dembele, who will step in and give him some assistance in the middle to try to make them play out wide if we do go with wing backs?
Well, will Winksy play? I mean, he had a good game yesterday. I thought he did very well in the midfield. I thought when Dembele came on, he provided that steal that we needed to push forward. And I know we were throwing everything at him in the last 15, 20 minutes when he was on. So I got to think he has to start. It's interesting probably total bullshit, but I just saw an article and I tagged you both guys on Twitter that, rumor now